Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Layla. For my 12th birthday, my mom gave me this heart-shaped locket. Inside, there's a picture of my mom on one side and of me on the other. She told me, through this necklace, I'll be with you wherever you go. You can always look at it when you miss me. That year, both my parents died in a boating accident. I was the only one who survived. I didn't have any relatives to look after me, so I was placed in a group home. My life was completely upended. I would stare at my mother's picture and cry all day long. Eventually, a musician couple adopted me. Thanks to them, I started living again. But one day, they said to me, "Layla, we've decided to get a divorce. Unfortunately, we can't be your adoptive parents anymore." At 18, I had to go back to the group home. You're allowed to live in the home until you turn 21. Since I was over 18, I could leave whenever I wanted, but I had nowhere else to go. So I reluctantly stayed there. In the meantime, I started looking for work. If I started making money, I could get myself out of there. I'd hit rock bottom again. My only source of support was my mom, whom I was carrying inside my locket. One day, the director called me into his office. There was an old guy in the room with him. The director said, "Layla, I have great news for you. This gentleman represents a family that wants to adopt you." I did not expect this. I said, "Thank you very much, but I just turned 18. I want to start building a life on my own." The man said calmly, "Miss Layla, if you accept our offer, we will make a donation of $5 million to the home." It was obviously a wealthy family, but I was weary of another adoption adventure. I looked at the director. He was waiting for my response with excitement. Well, $5 million is a lot of money, so he was right to get excited. I had to say yes, but only because I was thinking of the home. The following day, a luxury car picked me up and took me to the airport. We got on a private plane. I didn't even know where we were going. Shortly after takeoff, the old man came to me. He told me his name was Leon and he was an attorney. "I'm sure you're curious about your new family. You're in for a big surprise, because you've been adopted by a king," he said. He was right. Of course, I was surprised. I had so many questions. I bombarded Mr. Leon with them. He politely answered all of them. He told me that the country where we were headed was made up of 3 islands in the middle of the ocean. Its total population is 170,000. The biggest island is the capital. It's a really wealthy country because 2 of the world's biggest diamond mines are located there. Its citizens are very happy and love their king very much. When we were landing, Mr. Leon showed me the palace that was built on the highest point of the island. It looked straight out of a fairy tale. I was in a dream. "Why did the king adopt me?" I asked. "You'll find out soon," he said. After landing, we took a short ride to the palace. It was even bigger than it seemed from the plane. There were portraits of the former members of the royal family on the walls. I still couldn't believe that I'd been adopted by a king. I was scared to pinch myself because if this was a dream, I did not want to wake up from it. Mr. Leon introduced me to Miss Isla. She was the butler at the palace. He told me she was the one who'd take care of me. She was a warm and friendly lady. First, she took me to the dining hall. "Would you like to eat something before you head to your room? Every day we prepare 99 dishes for the buffet. What would you like?" I thanked her and said, "I'm not hungry at all. Even seeing all this food makes me full." Miss Isla then took me to my quarters. I was staring around, mesmerized. My room was magnificent. 3 other people walked in. Miss Isla said, "The royal tailors will take your measurements. They'll make you dresses you can wear every day or on special occasions. They're thinking about 100 everyday dresses and 100 gowns to begin with. Will that be enough for you?" "Please don't get me wrong, but isn't that a little too much?" Miss Isla replied, "In that case, for now we'll do 10 each." I was going to say, even that feels excessive, but Miss Isla said, "In the morning you will meet the king. I'll leave you to rest. I'm sure you need it," and left with the tailors. I was so excited when I heard I was going to meet the king. What was he like? Would he like me? Why had he adopted me? Before I could even change my clothes, I fell asleep, a million questions running in my head. I woke up to a strange sound. It was coming from my window. Because my room was so high up, I thought it was a bird. When I opened the curtain, I couldn't believe my eyes. A giraffe was staring at me. I opened the window right away. I started petting the giraffe's head. Somebody yelled from downstairs, "I'm sorry, is she bothering you?" "No, I love this. Do you have animals like this one around here?" I asked. The person downstairs said, "We have giraffes, peacocks, deer, parrots, even pandas here. You may run into them while walking in the garden. Are you their caretaker?" I asked. "Yes, my name is Lucas," he said, and I shouted down, "Pleased to meet you, and I'm Layla." When Lucas said, "I'm pleased to meet you too. I'll see you around. Bella now needs to feed a baby," I yelled, "Can I come with you? I've never seen a baby giraffe." 5 minutes later, I was with Lucas alongside the baby giraffe. "Unfortunately, this baby's mother died during labor. Bella is feeding her," he said, and I started tearing up. I opened up my locket and showed him my mom's picture. "I'm sorry, I don't usually cry this easily. I lost my mom too. Not a day passes when I don't miss her," I said. Lucas turned to the baby giraffe. "This little boy's name is Lucas. Do you know why I gave him my own name? Because he's an orphan like me. Every time I look at him, I remember I'm an orphan and I think about my mother. If we ever have a female baby giraffe, we'll name her after you," he said, smiling. At that moment, I heard Miss Isla calling for me. I'd almost forgotten that I was going to meet the king. I said goodbye to Lucas and ran to her. "The king is in a meeting right now. Meanwhile, we can go and visit a spot which I think you will love," she said. After passing through many doors, we came to the place Miss Isla was talking about, a jewelry store. It had a sparkling display. When we entered, I asked, "There's a jewelry store inside the palace? Is it only open to the royal family?" Miss Isla and the man inside laughed. Miss Isla replied, "This is not a store. These are the royal jewels. You can take anything you want." The man was holding a necklace made up of gigantic diamonds. "Would you like to try this? It's one of the most valuable necklaces in the world," she said. I held on to my own necklace. "Thanks so much, but I already have the world's most valuable necklace right here." Miss Isla was taken by surprise. "Are you sure? You can have whatever you want from here. I don't think any girl can resist these pieces of jewelry," she insisted. "Thanks so much, but I don't ever want to wear anything other than this necklace," I replied. Miss Isla said, "In that case, we can now go and meet the king. I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you." When we came to the entrance to the throne room, Miss Isla pointed to a chair and asked me to wait there. Then she went in to talk to the king. Half an hour later, the door opened. Miss Isla invited me in, saying, "Our king and our prince are waiting for you." Going into the throne room, I was so excited I thought my heart would jump out of my chest. I was staring at the floor because I didn't know what else to do. After taking a few steps, I stopped. I heard the baritone of the king's voice. "Come here, Layla. Lift up your head so I can see your pretty face. This palace has been waiting for you for a long time," he said. When I looked up, I saw the king and the prince next to him. I was so baffled that I almost fainted because the person next to the king was Lucas. He was enjoying seeing the surprise on my face and smiling mischievously. The king said with a smile, "You have every right to be surprised. I'd be surprised too if I saw the animal caretaker I just met this morning as a prince later the same day. You might be even more surprised when you hear the rest of the story. Ever since you entered the palace, you've undergone a series of tests. You're the 46th girl who came here. Each of you had been handpicked from 46 group homes all over the US. But unfortunately, the previous 45 girls had been disqualified before they could get to this phase. You're the first girl who's passed all the tests and met me in person." I didn't quite get what the king was talking about, but I was still too excited to speak. All I could do was smile. The king looked up. He was quiet for a while, and then he stared at a painting on the wall. Then he turned to me again. "The lady in that painting is my dear wife, Olivia. I met her in New York and fell in love with her at first sight. Soon after, we got married. I was only a prince back then. When my father passed, I came back here and was inaugurated as the king. Olivia became the queen. We were a very happy couple. When Lucas was born, we became a very happy family. For years, we ruled our country in peace. But every fairy tale comes to an end. Olivia passed away last year. She had grown up in an orphanage. She wanted Lucas to marry an orphan too, so we wanted to fulfill her wish. Miss Isla designed several rounds of tests for us to pick the best bride for the palace. Miss Isla, please go on if you like." "With pleasure, my king. Our first and easiest test was the all-you-can-eat buffet. 3 of the girls who came to the palace couldn't resist it and ate for hours. And of course, they got disqualified in the first round. 8 girls were disqualified during the dress test. They quickly accepted my offer to make 100 everyday dresses and 100 special gowns. For some of them, even that wasn't enough. That's why they didn't get to the next round. 11 of the girls who came to the palace were disqualified during the giraffe test. Some of them were scared of the giraffe. Some of them looked down on Lucas because he was the animal caretaker and didn't even deign to talk to him. Only you, among all the girls, went to see the baby giraffe along with Lucas. 23 of the candidates were disqualified at the last round, which was the jewelry test. When they saw all the jewels, they almost lost their minds. They wanted to get so many rings, earrings, and necklaces. This, of course, showed us how greedy they were. You didn't want any of it. And that's how you passed all the tests and became the first girl to meet our king. And what do you think happened next? The king looked to his son. "It's your turn now," he said. Lucas got down on one knee in front of me and asked, "Will you be my wife and our princess?" You've probably guessed what my answer was. We're now engaged. We're getting married next month. By the way, a female baby giraffe was born, but I didn't give her my name. I named her after my mom. Now there's one more thing that reminds me of my mom every time I look at it. If you like my story, please let me know in the comments below. I plan to come back to this channel and tell you some more fascinating stories from the palace. Bye for now.